Yeah, today is January 10th, 2008. This is a Harry Thomas special report. I'm your host, Harry Thomas. The website is harrythomas.info. And I seen a whole bunch of reports this week about voter fraud in New Hampshire, and it affected Obama and Ron Paul. So I decided we should take a closer look at this. This is our report. What I got here is vote fraud history repeats itself. This came out of the Deep Journal, January 10th, 2008. It says here Barack Obama had a 7-point victory was predicted, but yet he lost by 3. How could the polls be so wrong? And I started seeing reports from Sutton County, New Hampshire people saying that people voted for Ron Paul, but yet it was reported as 0. CNN in the AM about 5:30 something in the morning. They brought up a hint of election fraud only once yesterday. The guy was saying, "How did she pull it off?" And then this guy Bill Schneider, he says it must have been something that happened. Listen to this.
But over the weekend, polls showed that Hillary Clinton was way behind Barack Obama. So how was she able to pull it off? What put her over the top? Bill Schneider is CNN senior political analyst. First question, Bill, why were the polls so far off? I mean, some polls had him 11 points out in front of her.
That's right. The average was about 7 points, and 8 polls were taken just before the primary, and they all showed Obama in the lead. Now, all the pollsters are unlikely to make the same mistake. So it must have been something that happened.
See? He even admitted it. It must have been something that happened. And then later on he says someone interfered with the results.
What you're hearing about all over the blogs is there was some corruption of the voting machines, so therefore somebody interfered with the results.
Right.
See what I mean? And this stuff is just incredible. Now, did Ron Paul win New Hampshire? I found some of this stuff people were talking about from Boston.com. There's a lot of questions here, especially when Sutton County was reporting 0 votes for Ron Paul. But yet, all of a sudden, when you get a hold of the people, there's 31 or 32 votes. Okay, now this is what a caller from C-SPAN had to say.
This is actually a concern of mine that is independent of the reports that I'm hearing. I have a friend who lives in Sutton County in New Hampshire, and he, his aunt, and several people that he knows have voted for Dr. Ron Paul, and actually in all the reports that I have seen on the news and online, it's reporting that there are zero votes for Ron Paul in Sutton County. Now, I'm just calling in to express a concern that, these are paper ballots that are fed into digital machines, and I think it's probably extremely wise that all of the precinct observers go through and count through the paper ballots, because this isn't just for Dr. Paul, it's to make sure that it's a fair election through and through.
Sutton County did get votes. Now even Rush Limbaugh smells voter fraud in New Hampshire. What he had to say was they were talking about buses. A caller called in and they were talking about buses, loads of people being brought in to these small towns to vote. Listen to what was said.
Are you assuming these people, these buses contain people brought in from out of state to vote?
Right. I live in a very small town, and you generally know everybody in a small town. And at my particular voting establishment, people were coming in that I've never seen before in cars with out-of-state license plates. A van pulled out with an out-of-state license plate. And as you know, you can just walk in, basically say you want to vote, and you can vote.
Well, it's not quite that easy. Although we had the story back, what was it, Snerdley, November 27th? It was an AP or Reuters story, and there were 2 stories. One was about Iowa and how you can participate in the Iowa caucus, and the other one was New Hampshire. And I could not believe this. I couldn't believe it so much we checked it out with people in New Hampshire. We found out that the basic elements of the story were true, and that is college students, anybody can come in from anywhere out of state and register that day of the primary and get a ballot. And basically all they have to do is say, well, yeah, I intend to live here someday, or I'm coming back real soon or whatever. And there was a quote from one of the Democrat Party bigwigs in New Hampshire who was asked about this, And he said, I forget his name. Isn't this a little odd that people outside the state of New Hampshire can come in and vote? And this guy turned around, oh, so you're against people voting, huh? We think everybody should vote. We think as many people as possible should vote. That's what keeps the country together. We're talking about people outside the state of New Hampshire.
Now, how could that be? Anybody can vote from any state? Now, this just reeks of corruption. And on Alex Jones's radio show on September 9, 2008, he was talking about it, and he was talking about what to look for, what Bev Harris, who wrote a very good book about ballot tampering in the 21st century, what to look for.
The three-state area, 80+% of the ballots are controlled by one company and one man. Bev Harris covered that yesterday. Bev Harris of blackboxvoting.org. She told us what to look for. Notice in Iowa, they still haven't issued the final results. Well, they can't do that because then the precincts will notice that, hey, wait, we sent you a win, or we sent you Ron Paul in second place, or we sent you, and it doesn't show that. And then there would be news coverage. They have to wait. That's always a telltale sign. It wasn't transparent. Same thing in New Hampshire. We got a lot of emails and calls and posts on the Ron Paul War Room last night that we confirmed. We called the people, and they said, well, we're talking to county officials first before we talk to you. Yeah, we went on YourRonPaulWarRoom.com and posted that our whole family voted at this township in New Hampshire, and it showed 0 for Ron Paul. But now the township's telling us that don't talk to anybody. That's what they always tell you. You better go public now. And in a whole bunch of townships where they get 300, 400 plus votes, not one Ron Paul, over and over and over and over again. So exactly what Bev said look for happened. There is no doubt there has been chicanery. There's no doubt Obama's been cheated. There's no doubt Ron Paul has been cheated.
Bev Harris came on, and she actually confirmed herself that she talked to Sutton County and that they confirmed that votes were placed for Ron Paul.
Oh, boy, I just got off the phone with the town of Sutton. Ron Paul got 31 votes, not 0. I have it confirmed from the town clerk. I asked her why the discrepancy, and she said they simply failed to put the right number on the form they sent to the media.
Sure, it's accidental.
It doesn't matter. This is unacceptable.
Shut it down!
The classic method for rigging a hand count is to write the wrong number on the form. If you go to where'sthepaper.org, that's a site that does a lot of research on all kinds of election fraud.
Now, Alex Jones is demanding that the Ron Paul camp have a recount.
Look, he's got to do it. I'm demanding the campaign. They have been caught. Now, listen, the campaign likes to play the highbrow, above the fray, really classy. This isn't the time for that. We saw Ohio officials go to jail this year for 2004. You called it, Bev. I called it. The witnesses called it. We're not putting up with this crap. And I'm sorry, that's what it is. Anymore, the campaign, this is red-handed.
Now, will Ron Paul authorize an audit of the New Hampshire primary? What Debbie says is Jennifer Call, she got confirmed from the town clerk of Sutton, and she said that they were actually 33 and that he was left off the tally sheet. It was a human error. And now, McCain was declared the winner by several networks 17 minutes after the polls closed. Same thing I wrote about in my last column. With a few precincts reporting or projected when it's all over, even before the bulk of ballots are counted by the machines. What a farce. And this is getting out of control. The hand counts show 15% for Ron Paul out of the Ron Paul War Room, and they've got all kinds of stuff about Diebold and information concerning this stuff. This is just an outrage. And it has been revealed that a high-ranking executive at the company that was contracted to program all of New Hampshire's Diebold voting machines has a criminal record and has previously defended the illegal act of swapping out memory cards for the machines during live elections. And this is just simply and utterly criminal. There is something rotten in the state of Denmark, and it's happening in New Hampshire. It's called voter fraud. Get yourself informed, then inform others about it. Read the book Bev Harris put out. Watch the movie from HBO, Hacking Democracy. I've got it all available at the website, harrythomas.info, because an informed public can stop this madness. And together, we will make a difference against voter fraud, and take our country back. I want to thank you for listening.